Good morning to all the participants and welcome to the second session today. The speaker, expert speaker and our guest for today morning is Dr. Damodar Reddy Edla. Sir is presently working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, National Institute of Technology, Goa. Sir has received his MSc degree from University of Hyderabad in 2006, MTech and PhD degrees in Computer Science and Engineering from Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad in 2009 and 2013 respectively. His research interests include wireless sensor networks, cognitive neuroscience, brain-computer interface, and medical imaging. He has published more than 100 research articles in reputed international journals and standard conferences. The publications include reputed journals such as ACM, IEEE Transactions, IET, Elsewhere, Springer, Taylor and Francis and Whaley, etc. Dr. Damodar Reddy sir filed a patent on multi-level automated security system for prevention of accidents at unmanned railway level crossings. He is senior member in IEEE and IACSIT and also received several awards such as Venus Young Faculty Award, DKIF Best Researcher Award, Asia Arab Distinguished Faculty Award, CSIR Senior Research Fellowship, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Lifetime Achievement National Award, etc. He is also editorial board member of several international journals. He has also published 4 books by reputed publishers such as CRC Press, Taylor and Francis, etc. He had handled various administrative positions such as head of CSE department, training and placement officer, first appellate authority, Senate member, AAC member, etc. at NIT Goa. 2 of his PhD scholars have been awarded their doctorate and another 8 PhDs are ongoing. It is our privilege to have you as our resource person this morning, sir. And sir is going to give us a vast enlightenment about what are the current research areas which are upcoming with cloud computing. Sir, welcome you this morning and over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thanks for the nice introduction. Can you hear me, madam? My voice is audible, right?
Yeah, your voice is audible, sir.
Should I turn on the video also?
Yes, sir. I request all the participants to make this session as interactive as possible because whoever is aspirants of doing research, who is already into research of cloud, can have your direct audio session only with sir. You can unmute and speak to sir.
Very good morning to all of you. To begin with, today's session, we are going to briefly touch upon the current ongoing research in cloud computing. It's like flavor of machine learning applications for cloud problems. And during the presentation, if you have any doubts, you can please always stop me. Now, the moment we say cloud computing and some research problem in cloud computing. First of all, what is the base for cloud computing problems? When we say with the development of big data analytics, when we are in need of solving petabytes or exabytes of data for some information extraction, many people think just cloud is just for some storage or for some kind of processing. Cloud is beyond that, not just to store some data or to process the data. So when these introductory problems in big data come into the picture, and when the insufficient hardware requirements are there for the user, people are enforced to go for these cloud computing paradigms to be adopted. And often people think only cloud is just maybe a platform or a particular software or maybe a kind of hardware resource, lack of which we are actually borrowing some kind of external computing paradigm. But actually, it's beyond that. Basically, when we talk about the nature computing application, like some kind of evolutionary computation by inspired application, if you can imagine cloud computing also, if you can map cloud computing also a kind of nature computing application where we are trying to monitor the kind of processing, computation, and analyzing everything over some kind of third-party environment, and we try to get a solution to our real-time problem. Therefore, as a combination of this, we also invent a lot of problems when we are using the cloud computing architectures, because we are not the one who designed the cloud computing environment. We are only the user for that. So what are the problems from the user side, and at the same time, what could be the problem from the designer side? And simply, I can't borrow a cloud computing architecture for some small low-end application where there is no really requirement. So which particular user environment you have to create? All these things are very, very important. So just we are going to talk about some brief problems into that, and then we are going to see how it works. Now, the main problem with respect to the cloud computing is we have to, when you are a designer of a cloud computing paradigm, you should think that what service is your main requirement. Service availability. Then beyond that, whether it is a reliable service or unreliable, and what else the user requirement, and all those things you have to consider. So when you are designing a cloud computing, the main question is how to design a cloud service that is highly available. What do you mean by that? See, is it really a research problem? Like a highly available cloud service? It's very broad term. Highly available. What do you mean by highly available? Available to all these? Yes, my cloud computing architecture is always open to all the users. It is available. What else I want? But this availability, service availability, is not only with respect to the just make it reachable to people. It's the kind of servers you are designing, the kind of hypervisors you are designing, or the kind of security protocols you are designing for the cloud. They should be always in consist with the broad spectrum of users. There is not a single user. Like there is not only corporate users. There are personal users are there. There are organization-oriented users are there. So how to design a cloud service that is highly available? That is the first, the broad research topic which you enter the research into cloud computing. So only when you consider service availability, see some service I provide to some particular user, similar service some other user expected lower cost. Then that's the research problem to you. How can I make this particular research, or how can I make this particular cloud reachable to another user at the same cost, and some other user at different cost, such that what the cost is different, but the kind of service you provide is same. But at the same time, you should not provide two users same service at different cost. But you can't lose a customer there. So how to manage this? All these things. That is known as the service availability issue in cloud computing. I have two different users, but one can afford my service, other can't afford. So which particular component I have to make it available to this user and which to the other user. So again, within this, security issues will come into it. How to counter the security issues within your cloud environment? Because the moment you are designing your cloud computing systems, servers, you have to ensure that what security attacks will always follow you. Why? Because there is always in your mind the user requirement. So when there is user requirement in your mind, obviously the vulnerabilities becomes, exponential day by day. So how to counter the attacks and how to design protocols to counter these attacks, and all those security issues will come into the picture. Then how to make it a fault tolerant cloud system? Because see, in fact or indeed there is no cloud computing that is fault free. The problem here is every machine in the world is faulty. Only thing is it should be fault tolerant up to some level such that it can give normal, it can serve the normal requirement of any user. So when you say I am designing a fault tolerant cloud environment, you have to make sure that what it is the fault tolerant term is varying from user to user, from requirement to requirement. So how to make sure that your cloud environment will meet certain line of fault tolerance? The moment I say line of fault tolerance, the designed cloud environment is suitable for all type of users, though there are some faults present in this, it is fault tolerant to some particular requirement, some other fault requirement, some other fault requirement. So you have to ensure that what your particular cloud environment is tolerant to all such type of fault, and it is beyond the line of fault tolerance you have for any particular component. And if you observe, the drawback has did not work for 2 days in a particular year of 2014, and you can imagine what is the reason for that all of a sudden. And so when you say service availability is your constraint, you have to ensure that what there should be never even single second interruption. When there is such type of interruption, if you can observe recently a couple of weeks before, in a Gmail server has, I mean, down or slower for some days, maybe I think 1 or 2 days, and it has become a big news. It is not just a matter of 1 or 2 days. You can always recover. Recoverability service, again, you can always make the service available after a day or two. Problem is what? The damage happens to your market. The moment there is a service breach, suddenly what will happen? Lot of revenue issues will come to the picture, even if it is 1 hour or 1 day or 1 minute. So the service availability and service reachability in a continuous fashion to the users, that will be your major requirement for any cloud computing designers. And all type of attacks like your DDoS attacks and everything should be the frequent attacks, how to handle them, and from environment to environment, because cloud computing is environment used by various users. So when you have various user environment, how you are designing your security protocols such that what from environment to environment, the security protocols will be adoptable. All these things you have to consider when you are talking about the service availability. Now, elasticity, like I said in the beginning, it is cloud computing is not specifically designed keeping in mind a particular group of audience. So when you keep in mind only a particular group of audience, the previous requirement, that is your service availability, will not be met. So when you are making your cloud computing environment is elastic to various, I mean, people or to various environment, certainly what happens, you have to consider a lot of issues: scalability issue, adaptability issue, maintainability issue, understandability. A lot of problems will come. So see, whenever we see a lot of problems in this cloud environment, certainly one can't work with all these problems. Like I can parallelly work for service availability, parallelly work for what you can say elastic cloud environment that is adaptable to all type of environments and all type of users or operating system environments. It's not true. So you select a particular direction, and in that direction you try to work. Now for availability is my thing. Then how can I design a server? How can I design a hypervisor that is adaptable to all type of environment? And in that case, again, you scalability, you may not or may bother. But when scalability is your consideration, then when you travel at a time on 2 boards, because cloud computing, the research areas are always interconnected, the research topic. So when you consider scalability is an issue, always availability could also be a problem, service availability. So balancing these two, how can I do research in cloud computing? Because parameters like scalability, availability, security, balancing them and doing a common, I mean, protocols to be developed is not so easy. So for example, scalability. Now, which type of scalability you want? I just want automatic scaling with respect to the user requirement. Yes, done. But see, there's never-ending requirements come from the user always. So whenever a particular user or an organization subscribe to your cloud, their requirement will be never-ending. So when we keep on making your hardware scalable with respect to the user requirement, and it is not one user or one organization you are serving your cloud environment, or you are providing access to your cloud environment. It's multiple users, a vast variety of users. Therefore, when you go scalability in one dimension or one direction, suddenly what will happen? Scalability in other dimension may or may not be guaranteed. At the same time, other factors will not be met. Therefore, when you consider the scalability as an issue for elasticity, or to design a cloud server such that can adapt to all type of user environment, then scalability may or may not be satisfied. And you have to consider all these things. So when coming to an elastic cloud environment, should make what? How can I predict? How can I react to certain, what you can say, changes in real time? and how can I solve them quickly, maybe real time. But is it really possible to provide a real-time evolution, not evaluation, real-time evolution, such that you make your cloud environment is very elastic and user-friendly? But people want dynamic changes, dynamic scaling, and what you call your very quick response. Otherwise, they will simply next year they will change to some other clouds, some other cloud environment. But user always wants its service reachability and elasticity. I want my cloud server, whichever I am going to access, should be able to function for under all type of what you can say constraint. When something is not matching, again immediately he will contact your designer. Then again, how quickly? And but problem is every time what you can say there is a customer support service in your cloud environment. What will happen every time the customer is not interested to contact you, right? So they want dynamic changes, dynamic scaling, dynamic solutions. Therefore, keeping in mind these things, while designing, because the kind of effort needed to make it elastic at the dynamic time or real time, it is very very costly. Whereas if you take care of all these issues at the time of designing the cloud servers, at the time of designing the cloud computing environment, what will happen? People, the kind of damage that you can have onto the changes for fixing the scalability issues, maintainability issues, and all those things will be very, very less. Otherwise, if you can take care of all these changes or scalability issues or other issues during the maintenance or during the use of the customer, then you have to invest more on the maintenance, because maintenance is always a phase where you spend a lot of time on the cloud computing. Then how to minimize the challenges or bottlenecks to make a to just improve the efficiency of your cloud. Because always when the maintenance phase enters, when the customers or organizations using your cloud environment, then the problems will come, the real-time problem. Then how you reduce them at a real time and with the dynamic changes, they will always give you a better changes. Then how to scale the data storages. See, many of the people consider and adopt to cloud environment with the primary requirement as a data storage. So when data storage is a primary requirement, and then of course processing and analyzing and computation over your internet. But how to scale it to the data storage? Because simply data storage does not refer to simply add some additional storage and all. Because again, when you have additional storage to be added to the cloud, what is the impact on the computing and processing speed? All these things you have to consider. They all are research challenges when you consider really how to scale the data storage without affecting the other parameters. Something like your security issues, because the moment I make the data storage, if you are running some kind of security algorithms, are they really be incrementable? If the algorithm is not incrementable, if it is not an increment algorithm, then how can you extend the security protocols to the extended data storage? Are you following me really? Because when you simply scale the data storage, it doesn't work. When you're scaling the data storage, eventually a lot of other things will come. Whether the security protocols you are using, they can also be scaled according to the requirement. Are they really incrementable? All those things you have to consider while providing all these features like maintenance, availability, elasticity, and everything. And also, whenever the scaling happens with respect to the computing power or with respect to the data storage or with respect to the processing speed, when your cost of the cloud also scaling exponentially, assume that, then customer may not be interested to scale themselves or to scale to next level of your usage of your cloud environment. I understand what I'm telling. So when your customer don't want, the customers, they don't want scalability at the cost of exponential growth in the cost of software or hardware you are providing to the cloud users. Try to understand. So that is also one of the major challenge. Scalability not at the high cost of the product that you are providing to the cloud users. It doesn't mean that you have to provide free of cost all the cloud services. No. Scalability, considering your profit requirement. If the moment I refer you, now I'm talking about the cloud designers. Now, whenever I say scalability, I'm talking about, now I talk with respect to the user requirement, I talk with respect to the revenue requirement or cost requirement from the user side and the developer side, right? So whenever you scale the data storages, and not only data storages or any other scaling happens with respect to processing speed, computing power, and others. And what type of high-end protocols you are making available to user. I'm just making the online processing query, fine, using my cloud computing. Then at what level of computing power you are providing to the user, and how you are charging, whether user really require that. When user really do not require that, you can provide it at affordable cost, and you can increase the cost for other services. So making better service reachable to the people, and you can have a better what you can say cloud computing environment. And the major problem that we have here, data confidentiality. Because the moment we say security issues will come into the picture, certainly, because the main requirement of the user is what? Data confidentiality. After that, they want all the remaining computation power and processing speed and everything. But when the primary requirement of user, because once the user come to know that my data is not confidentially maintained here, then gone. How efficient service you are providing and at what cost is gone, because the particular designer has nothing to do with the efficient what you call the computing power you are providing and all the other features. The primary source is not meeting. Therefore, you users may not be really interested towards your cloud. So the trustworthiness is the major challenging issue that you have to achieve in your designing process. The moment the cloud computing, the service you are providing, the cloud service, if it is not meeting this requirement, then it is likely to be that 50% of the revenue could be easily be dependent on this particular paradigm or this particular computing requirement of any users. Now, not only that, the moment I say it's a data confidentiality, don't think people are using just a conventional cloud systems, because if you can observe by 2017 only, people were using about 50% of the organizations or the cloud users or cloud clients, they are using hybrid clouds. When they want hybrid clouds, that may include a private cloud also. When such a case of usage happens or experienced by the cloud users, what will happen? Data confidentiality and security becomes even tough for the designers. Are you understanding what I'm telling? Because most of the data source or the metadata information and the data repositories, they're coming from various cloud environments. And when they integrate together and try to store in a common cloud architecture, so sometimes it becomes very difficult to maintain the security protocols and everything. And to not only that, to maintain the data confidentiality, forget about the security protocols and everything. Because there is a kind of interconnection between multiple cloud environments to make a hybrid cloud system. Obviously, what happens? You have to maintain, while designing your security protocols, you have to design all these things such that it will be taking care of the security issues from multiple cloud environment. All these things you have to consider. And overall, how to make it secure and trustworthy, considering the data confidentiality, and of course the previous one, that is your scalability issues and all the other issues will be your major challenging problem. And one more, security. But this is more of security background students or faculty can look into this type of research, where I need a cloud server, where I have highly confidentiality with respect to my in the sense client's data, and at the same time have the secured environment for the computation and processing. Then data locking. The problem is like access to the data. Now, whenever users wants easy access, and at the same time they want the previous data confidentiality also. So when user wants this data confidentiality, at the same time they want easy access to the data, what will happen? These two are sometimes involving, invert some problem for the security issues in your cloud system, because customers, they want easy extraction of the data, easy computation, and sometimes what you can say, access within lock-in conditions. Means that whenever the cloud server, sometimes because of some issue, it is hangs, because see, if you can observe, many of the systems, many of the high-end servers also hangs for some point of time, for some, even for during the maintenance also. Sometimes they may not provide. You can see the your because many of you might submit your what you call some journal articles or something. If you, I think it is not very rare case, but not very frequent case also. Sometimes we see this all editorial management services or other cloud submission services. They often go for frequently maintenance phases, maybe once in 6 months or once in a year or something. Sometimes they mention that what during the maintenance phase you may or may not have access to your particular personal data or maybe the public data. So in that case, what happens during the maintenance phase? If I want to have some what you can say important access to my particular data that is stored in the cloud server, so how can I handle the data locking cases? Because for normal cases is okay, data locking for some time is okay, but when it is really a vendor lock-in for some particular security reasons or any other problems, uh, how to solve the problem for the users? Because like I said, customers cannot easily extract their data, because they always want easy access to the data and at the same time easy maintenance of the data. So all the lock-in issues and all the maintenance of the data issues and how to solve them, that is one of the. So you need to have some standardization application programming interfaces in cloud, because the APIs they really play very crucial role. Unless you have a user-friendly and secure and reliable application programming interfaces, it is really difficult for the user friendliness to achieve. So you have to have a standardization of all those APIs, because APIs are very important. They play very important role, and they bridges the customer and the designer. So when you have such a level of standardization of the APIs, certainly users will like to have more and more subscription towards your cloud server. Then not only that, how can I, in case of heterogeneous cloud environment, then how can I integrate the data repositories and data storages from multiple clients, from multiple places, from multiple heterogeneous spaces? All these things are again major challenging problems. They are all research problems. Try to understand. Like have a simple user-friendly standardized API designing for some data access application to the cloud user. And similarly, I need to have a simple heterogeneous what you call data storage, such that I can have an access to my data with a particular what you call multiple sources of the cloud requirement. So all these things, we again a research problem. But what type of protocols you define here? Because the kind of APIs you develop, they should not have again another vulnerabilities in the application process. Otherwise, they will become the entire cloud computing system vulnerable. Because usually most of the APIs is the phase where the security or the attackers target upon. So while standardizing them to make efficient access to the user, you have to ensure that what these APIs are designed in such a way, that's called as standardization. The APIs are designed in such a way such that what they will not incur or cause any additional security issues in the cloud system. Then known as optimizing data placement and transfer. Like if you know the mentality of the cloud users, they want optimal service at a cheaper cost. So when there is a optimized data placement and of course transfer also, and they always want what we call rapid updations. Like I have a particular data access to this one, and I immediately want to have a I'll simply change my data at a rapid speed and replace with other data storage. The moment I say big data requirement from the customer point of view, client point of view, they want to optimize data placement. Like I've stored this data, now I want to update some portion of the data. I simply update with some other big data repository because they always size is in petabytes and exabytes. So when these boundaries of the machines in clouds, they often require complete optimization within the data placement and data storage and data transfer. You have to make sure that these your algorithms design in such a way such that they always guarantee optimality and at the same time reliability also. Optimality and reliable data placement and data transfer. The moment I said transfer, reliability, what do you mean by it? See, when you're trying to transfer some heterogeneous data, the transfer speed, the message delay, and data rates. See, because sometimes the systems, whereas your if you consider multi-processor and multi-computer system, the difference. Because one, that message delay is high and data transfer rate is low. Other is what? Message delay is low, data transfer rate is high. So whenever you try to design such an optimal data placement options to the user, you have to ensure that what a kind of privileges, access privileges to provide and transfer privileges to the users. They are very, very high end and they are very, very simple, user friendly. And then how to place and replace the data at a best cost and with no additional cost and all those things, because they always really attract the client users. So how can you define and design algorithms that will place or replace the data, placing at high cost and replacing at in a low time, very low time stamps and all this. So they're all again major challenging problem in cloud. And very importantly, because of the economic eco-friendly issues in cloud computing, how to design a green cloud computing system for my desired application. That could be an application for some defense purpose, that could be an application for some e-commerce problem, that could be an application for some other high performance computing problem, whatever it is. How can I design a green cloud? Because considering all these parameters are privileges maintained in the system, I want to have, or as a cloud user or cloud client, I want to have a green cloud. Why? Because of the requirement in the recent times, because of the energy consumption, load balancing, energy harvesting, and all the routing issues. I want to have a green cloud environment. Yes, sometimes the designer can afford the kind of what you can say cost incurred on the designing green cloud environment, but you have to keep in mind the user requirement. When you say, see, try to listen carefully. Whenever there is a user, a client, his requirement is some particular cloud system or some processing power, with some data storage at some cost. Now with some little bit 10% additional cost, when you can achieve the same environment which is very economic with respect to energy consumption and load balancing and everything. From the designer point of time, it is very, very great achievement, like with just a 10% of the additional cost you are providing. But from user side and client side, they want a green cloud environment at the same cost with their all the privileges and requirements are fulfilled. So when you're going for designing such a green cloud, how do you ensure that with not much difference in the cost of your cloud system access? How do you provide to the cloud server, cloud clients and users such that what they will get the desired service with an economic cloud or a green cloud access? And even how do you make, even while the designing phase, how do you utilize your resources, cloud resources? You are in the sense the designer, such that you will make your cloud environment a green cloud environment, and you need not to really incur a lot of cost on maintaining the cloud system. Why? Because if you efficiently utilize the cloud resources and the servers, the hypervisors, everything in the environment, and people used to say at least 30 to 40% you can actually cut down the cost on the maintenance. I'm talking about only maintenance cost now. And when you take care of the designing phase, all these things, even it may be lower, right? The cost incurred on this one. So how you optimize your resources, how you optimize your computation power, how you optimize your data storage, and all this, how you optimize your security algorithms to be reached out to the entire cloud network. So when you can go for all these things matter, then you can provide the cloud environment at a better price to the cloud users. And so here you need not to charge anything extra. So when you cut down your cost with all these lower privileges, certainly what happens, the number of users you can increase because you are providing at a much cheaper price of the cloud services. And something like you can have more focus on your virtualization, designing the virtual servers, virtual machines, and at a lower cost, because they always increases energy efficiency. When you have virtualization, they will always increase energy efficiency, right? So then, how to perform energy aware scheduling? This is very important problem in cloud. So whenever you have energy aware scheduling happens or try to impose on your cloud system functionality, certainly what will happen, the kind of energy requirement, the kind of cost requirement, all will get affected, and you can provide your services at a better, cheaper, even a better, cheaper price. Then, how to achieve the best trade-off in computation, communication, storage, and energy, and of course performance also. So, when you can think in a better way how to achieve these all these requirements, again your cloud computing, I mean, the cost is less and the energy is less that is required, and the other parameters will also be fulfilled. So there are many, like I said, there are a number of opportunities in cloud computing for this one. When you are designing a mobile cloud, when you are going with a edge computing or fog computing applications and all, and what type of apps you are developing for the cloud, and when they are even disconnected, how do they work? I mean, when the connective issues will be an issue, where when the internet is a problem, can you define offline cloud, maybe a mobile cloud or an IoT based cloud, and can you integrate cloud with IoT and make the systems or the users work even in a better way, in a simpler way, even though in the absence of the connectivity and the processing capability under certain constraints. Then what you call your batch processing for some developed application for online transaction processing or some decision support system. And how do you provide your most importantly those who are studying data warehouse repositories and all? Can I propose a cloud data warehousing repository? This is one of the good problem nowadays people started working on. Because when people, basically the problem with data warehouse repositories is what? When you say cloud is an option for data storage, and when you have data warehouse repositories maintained by the data warehouse organization, but when their problem processing and maintenance becomes tough for them, and when you provide a cheaper data warehouse repositories for some batch processing and some business analytical application, basically they are need for what? Decision support systems, right? When you said data warehousing is basically for decision support systems. So the moment I say there are all these decision support systems I'm defining in my cloud environment such that they can adopt as a data warehouse repository, a cloud data warehouse repository, that will be really a good opportunity for research, and that really attract a lot of revenue for a cloud computing designer, right? And similarly developing simple desktop applications for some simple computations and all, and where with a limited computation power, with a limited accessing privileges and all, where you can make it your cloud network popular and easy access to a lot of users, and over the time they can be addicted to your cloud environment. The moment I say you, here the designer. So with all these opportunities, you can make the cloud designing process very, I mean, opportunity for the next 5 to 10 years. And so just I have defined till now some various problems in cloud computing environment and others, various opportunities. Now, just let me see some brief machine learning, some evolutionary computation techniques, which will help for some of the problems like load balancing, energy efficiency, energy harvesting, clustering, routing, and all those applications you're going to see. You have any doubts? I'll stop for 5 minutes. Just if you have any doubts, you please tell. You have any doubts? Because we have seen various directions. I did not give a specific problem statement. I've given a topics where you can really look into for your further research in cloud computing. It could be access related work, or it could be a scalability related, or it could be a storage related, or whatever it is. But there all could be opportunities. But when you work with conventional cloud computing related problem, nowadays getting a scope for your further research may not be so easy. So what you can do, you can implement a cloud with some IoT or IoMT, because nowadays most of the medical related applications they are trying to achieve over the cloud environment, because the medicinal data is a very vast in size and large number. So when you can design an internet of medical things, not just IoT, IoMT, when you design an IoMT application for your, within your cloud environment, certainly people will definitely, a lot of medical organizations will be very, fascinating to this particular usage of your cloud system. And similarly, simple mobile cloud application, when you integrate your mobile computing apps with respect to your cloud system, really you can create a wide area network for your cloud environment, and really it would be a very good idea for some startup and everything. Similarly, developing or designing computing paradigms, computing algorithms for an effective use, effective processing, effective data storage, effective restoration, all those applications, and designing new applications for your desktop or mobile phones and everything, integrated with cloud environment, and some medicinal organizations and all those things. They all could be some possible research problems. You have anything to say? Any doubts? Anybody has some doubts? No doubts? I think somebody is writing something. No message in the chat box related to doubts. Okay, so let me just go to some evolutionary computation model which you can really look into and try to see how they can be used for some real-time computing problem. Maybe you are using some kind of blockchain application, maybe you are using some other security application. How can you borrow? So, for example, there could be many. See, the moment I say cloud computing, there's a solution to this. A solution from the one of the nature computing problem. Because see, when you go for this evolutionary computation, bio-inspired or nature-inspired, basically cloud computing is also a kind of nature-inspired designing paradigm. Why? Because when you observe the cloud environment and cloud usage, you have come to this particular level of high-end computation and data storage and processing environment. So certainly, when you can design some kind of nature-inspired application other than non-bio-inspired, try to understand, like spam intelligence, meta heuristics, particle sum optimization. When you can design these type of other bio-inspired but non-nature inspired, like your cloud computing and all, because there you don't have much bio-inspired computation, right? In case of cloud computing, you have not seen bio-inspired computation, because in my opinion, this cloud computing, fog computing, and all these computing models, bio-inspired computation and evolution computation model, all these genetic algorithms, they all come under the spectrum of your nature computing problem. So in a nature computing problem, cloud computing design is one of your non-bio-inspired computing model. Cloud computing is a non-bio-inspired computing model. Fog computing is a non-bio-inspired computing model. So now just today class, since this is also under the same nature computing. So like nature computing we have non-bio-inspired and bio-inspired. So I'm just going to explain some bio-inspired model can be used for some cloud computing problem, maybe a security problem, maybe some other data processing or data storage problem, or any other blockchain related problem. So just if I want to use some SWAM intelligence problem towards, solution towards some cloud computing problem, what you can define, what is a SWAM intelligence, and let us see how it can be used for some cloud computing problem. Basically, SWAM intelligence is defined as a group's intelligence. The intelligence that is borrowed from a group of objects, maybe a group of fishes in the water, maybe a group of birds in the sky, a group of ants on the earth. Okay? So now we'll try to see how this SWAM intelligence work and how it provides efficient solutions to the cloud computing problems. Okay? Basically, SWAM intelligence is defined as an emerging collective behavior or intelligent behavior from a group of persons or simple agents. The agents could be anything, any living objects, right? So basically, why this cloud computing is adaptable to this type of problem. Cloud computing problems can be solved using these SWAM intelligence, or average computation from the other non-widespread problems can be solved with this. Why? Because if you can observe your cloud computing, there could be many individuals, a group of servers, hypervisors, and many local nodes and computing nodes. So your cloud computing environmental system has composed of many individuals. Like your physical environment, here you have a real-time environment within your SWAM environment, right? And individuals are homogeneous. Like yes, like you don't have something like one common system under which you are working in a particular cloud environment. Each node is an individual, and it's many of the times the particular group of objects are homogeneous in your cloud system. Fine, like maybe a group of users or maybe a group of servers, they're all homogeneous, right? So when you have many individuals and all are homogeneous, sometimes you can always use the SWAM intelligence techniques for the particular problem of your cloud computing issues. Now, local interaction based on simple rules. You will always have interaction, either local interaction or interaction with respect to cloud. So when you have interaction based on simple rules, what are the rules? Or maybe some security rules, or maybe a kind of simple communication protocols, non-security protocols, and security protocol. So they all called local interaction, and there is self-organization, no centralized control. Now when there are different users are using your cloud system, so assume that there is no centralized control over the cloud environment, because that is used by different persons. See, I'm telling under these constraints and considerations, you can use the cloud computing environment with the machine learning architecture like this, SWAM intelligence and other evolution computation, genetic algorithms. Okay. So there are many such algorithms are there which you can use for the real-time problem which we have discussed till now in your cloud computing. That could be a security problem or a data storage problem, a data processing problem, or a classification problem, or any other problem. Okay, then there could be many such algorithms we have. So in standardized algorithm, we are going to see some widespread algorithm like partition optimization, and one or two algorithms we are going to get ant-colony optimization. So the reason for is here they are actually stochastic type algorithms or random search techniques, and because they are random search technique and stochastic type, they are simple to apply, and they are really reasonable to apply within your cloud system problems. So SWAM intelligence, genetic algorithm, and other related problems you can always use in cloud computing. So basically, how to solve? What is the initial solution? So here, initial solution. Assume that you are making a security problem in your cloud using some blockchain. Okay. What is the basic nature of blockchain? Tell me. Basic nature of your blockchain technology. Because we don't want a centralized security. We want heterogeneous distributed security measure within your security system. So basically what happens here, if you can observe the SWAM intelligence, and when you are designing a blockchain security protocol for your cloud environment, you will try to have your security to be redefined at multiple nodes located at various locations. So if you can see the previous slide, the definition of this cloud computing, this SWAM intelligence, we have many individuals and there is no centralized control. So when you have many individuals or simple agents, there is no centralized control. You can redefine your what you call your SWAM intelligence problem as a cloud computing environment, such that what you have many individuals where some few individuals or few agents you are defining to store the security protocols, and the blockchain you can make a blockchain construction, blockchain design with respect to these homogeneous objects, and there is no centralized control here, the main thing. So with these particular constraints or consideration, I'm going to define a particular environment for my cloud computing. What is the initial solution? What is the initial stage of my cloud system? So which are all these servers, which are all the end nodes, which are all the computing nodes, which are all the users. So I'm going to define what is that. That is my initial solution if I'm solving for some security problem or whatever it is. Then what is the search direction? In which direction I'm searching for so and so problem? What is the search direction? What is the search direction? If it is a storage problem, if it is a security problem, or if it is simply a data processing problem, in which direction I'm actually trying to solve the problem. Then update criteria. How can I update each and every time? Then how can I stop? How can I stop after achieving the, what you can say, desired security measure or whatever it is? So update criteria is something like that. We just keep on adding this non-centralized control to different nodes of the SWAM intelligence. Then the moment you achieve the desired heterogeneous security measure, something like your blockchain, then you can stop it. So you can better understand when you see the particular architecture, particle swarm optimization. Let me take one simple example. Basically, if you see PSO, particle swarm optimization, is a optimization technique. That is a population-based search method. Now see, since it's a population-based, now you can map it to your cloud computing environment and you see what is the population of your cloud computing. Which are the servers, which are the nodes, how they can access, and then what is the current position of the particle. Here particle could be a server or some kind of high-end terminal node or end node. So what is the current position of the particle representing some solution? So this particle represents some solution. What is the solution? Some particular what you can say processing or some particular security or whatever it is. And your swarm of particles searching as agent. What do you mean by searching as agent? Now they are searching for solution. Like if I go in this direction, I may get a solution. Solution is what? Solving a particular problem using your cloud system, or what you can say access to a particular thing in your cloud system. So all these solutions I am going to define. Then I'm going to find the global objective finally. PSO find the minimum value of the function, just a global objective. So just let me take an example for how these are. For example, if I take a group of birds. So here bird is a particle, food is a solution. Bird is a particle, food is a solution. So P best, the best solution a particle or a bird has achieved so far. G best, the global solution. So what is the global solution I want from the cloud system? And what is my personal best? So what is my personal best in the sense the particular current node in the cloud, current computing node, what is trying to achieve. And after that, what I want to achieve is a global, complete cloud system, what I want to achieve. So that is known as P-based and G-based. So you are defining what is a particle, what is a solution, what is P-based and what is G-based. So P-based is a solution achieved so far. G-based is a solution achieved by any particle in the neighborhood of particle. So my job is considering the P-based of each and every particle, I want to achieve the G-based. So let me take some example, you can just easily understand. See, this is some position X. What do you mean by X here? X could be some particular server or some computing node or whatever. Is it trying to compute something, right? Something, or data storage or access or processing, whatever it is. Now, what is it? If I work in this direction, the server will define, say, I will get my personal best. What do you mean by personal best? I will make the computation in so and so time. Okay, I will get a solution with so and so accuracy. Okay. Now, if other servers also in the cloud, if other servers in the cloud or other nodes in your cloud environment, but if they say no, if you use this particular server and you may get a better, better local best. Then you can say I can see the global best because there are many individuals, many homogeneous, many servers. So how can I integrate all these servers and work together such that I can get the global best? So now what this particle do, what this particular server will do, at a different speed, considering the global best and the local best, the personal best, it will see and it will work in a different direction towards the new velocity. I mean, with a new velocity. That is known as my V best. So vertical, see, when all the people who are working in this cloud environment, just one most important thing is you have to define a fitness function. Now, what is my fitness function for any cloud PSO or simultaneous? Now, usually fitness function is very simple. I know my X of t, current position. If it is a server, my current position, current situation of the server, current speed of the server, and what is the computing speed and what is the storage capacity and everything. So X of t is what current source solution assumed, particle position at time t. And V of t is what speed of the server. If X of t is the current position, what is the server position? V of t is the velocity of the particle. So velocity of the particle you can define it the speed of your server or the computing capability of your server. So when you know the current situation X of t and you know the V of t, so your job is to find X of t plus 1. What will happen next after some time? How much computation I can involve, I can have from the computing, available computing from the cloud server or cloud environment. So X of t plus 1 is what? Particle position is time t plus 1. So whenever I know X of t, right, X of t, how can I solve at X of t plus 1? X of t plus 1 is defined as X of t plus V of t plus 1. Now, I already know V of t, the current computing power and the current other privileges of the CPU or the server. So when I know V of t, I have to compute V of t plus 1 as some formula like fitness function. V of t plus 1 is defined as some weight that is inertia weight at what speed. What is meant by inertia weight? If V of t I know the computing power at some time t naught. Now with some weight W, inertia weight, after some time t naught, what could be the computing power and what could be the solution level of the particular server. Then V of t plus 1 is different as W into V of t plus some random numbers, because basically simultaneous is a randomized solution where we are taking some random number, some C1, C2, the learning factors are accelerating factor. At what speed you want to accelerate the solution towards the computation in your cloud system. Okay, and some random numbers we are going to consider random. So basically, if you can observe, I want to achieve the maximum or optimized. If you can see the third slide, which you can recall, I want to achieve the maximum computation. I want to achieve the optimized computation from the cloud system. Therefore, if you can see, there are different local optimum are there. All these slopes and all these peaks are representing the solutions, but the best solution is the highest peak, highest computation power at the lowest cost. Now, your job is to provide that particular thing to your client or user at an affordable cost. So this is the high computation, the particular thing which is pointed out there by an arrow. That is your optimum service you can provide by your cloud system to the users or clients at a cheaper price. So that's how you have to design your cloud system. Are you following me? Like I have many individuals, I have named many servers, how many servers I take, how many end nodes I want. Then I'm going to redefine them. Then I'm going to compute them, and I know what the current X of t, and I'm going to find what is X of t plus 1. Whenever I know V of t, I'm computing V of t plus 1. So your job is to find the global optimum, the overall best of the computing power you are going to provide. Okay? And then some pseudocode, how it works and all. Simply you have to know, you have to carefully take what is a particle and what is a solution and what is a what is called your local optimum, what is global optimum. So just let me take a simple example how this optimization algorithm works. So just I'm going to explain the, maybe for some routing problem in your cloud computing. So basically what will happen, if you can see figure 1, a group of ants start from the bird nest. Okay, bird nest. Okay, figure 1, N represents the nest, sorry, not bird nest, that ant colony. N stands for the nest, or you can call it the ant colony. So N stands for ant colony, F stands for food. Okay, now a group of ants start at the ant colony and goes towards the food. Okay, now the objective here is what? Here the objective, now your cloud system have objective like elasticity, what you call your scalability, and what you call your data storage. They are all your objective, right? And processing speed. Now here the objective is what? For a group of ants, the objective is to collect the food. Now here my objective is to what? A group of ants started, ant colony, reach the food. Now there are many paths. If you can tell me how many paths we have from source to the destination, that is from ant colony to the food. Towards the food, there are 4 paths are there in each figure, if you can observe. See, first I'll start at bird nest, I'll take left direction, then either direction in the second level, then again I'll come back and take a right direction in the bird nest, in the ant colony. Again from the right direction I go left or right. So left, then left, right, right, and then left, right. So total there are 4 paths if you can observe, right? Now from these 4 paths, the ants can go in any path. So now what will happen? When a group of ants are going towards a particular thing, food, now first one ant will go some randomly. It will select any random path and it will reach the food, right? Then some other ant take in different path, because all the paths are equally likely. So any path can be chosen by any ant, right? So one ant chooses one path, other ant chooses different path. Now tell me, how can I connect this to my cloud computing problem? See, because I am trying to optimize the service. There is a group of servers available. There is a group of cloud servers available in your cloud system. Now, if I select one server, I can solve the problem. I can compute. I can make the computation in some time. Okay, so the time can be represented here with the weight of what time I will take to reach the food for an ant. Okay. Now, if I take a different path, means what? If I take a different server, it may take different time to compute or to process the given data. So here each path you can represent as a time taken by different cloud server. And your source is what? You are giving an input to different servers. There are as many paths you have, that many cloud servers we have. Are you following me? So even if it is a hybrid cloud server also, each path can represent a server of one particular cloud, and you are going to have what? How to solve the computing with respect to each available path. Here a path represents a solution. What is solution in cloud system? Computation. So each path takes some time to reach. So that's how you have to map to your cloud computing problem. Try to understand that. Just I'm trying to give an emphasis on how to adopt this swarm intelligence to your cloud computing problem. So here source to destination you are reaching, and objective is start at a point and reach the food. So here your job is what? How to select efficient servers such that what your job can be identified and completed in a optimized way. Okay. So how the ants optimize here? Tell me. A group of ants. Here a group of ants. First they start randomly at a particular point and they reach randomly to the food. So here what will happen? Whenever any ant passes in any path, whenever it travels in any path, they will release a kind of biological behavior known as pheromone. What is a pheromone? Pheromone is something that is left by an ant whenever it travels, whenever it walks through any path, it will leave something, a pheromone. Pheromone is, maybe you can call it as a gel or some kind of biological behavior. Now, which other ant can identify. Try to understand. If you can see the figure A, whenever an ant is starting from some path, it is starting that yellow or something is shown in the path. That is the behavior of the ant left. That is known as pheromone, some kind of gel that is left out by the ant while it is walking through the path. Okay. So now if you can understand easily, the path that the ant that chooses the first path or the closest path, okay, will be the path that arrives at the food first. Okay. So whenever an ant arrives at the food first, it means what? It is the one who chooses the shortest path. So whenever an ant chooses the shortest path, what will happen? While collecting the food and coming back, which path it will choose again, because again no other ant has reached, and since no other ant has reached, it will not come to know the ant that it has chosen the shortest path. Why? No other ant has reached it. If so, what will happen? While going back, the ant will see the path, each and every path. While going back again, there are 4 paths are there, but in the very first enter there are 2 paths. Again 2 paths are there. So 2 + 2. There are total 4 class are there. So while going back, the ant will see the path and see which path has a pheromone node. Now, if you can observe the figure 1, while going back, this particular ant sees one particular path has pheromone. Why it is as pheromone? Because it was traversed by itself. The same ant has already traveled in the same path. Other path has no noted pheromone. That no ant, because no ant is traveled in that direction, the pheromone was not noted there. Right? I think it's a simple ant colony algorithm. So while going back after collecting the food, the ant will go back in the same path which it was traveled the first time while reaching from the ant colony to food, because there is an amount of pheromone now noted. Okay, so the ant will go back. After some time, second ant will come. Again, it will collect the food. While going back, it will see. Now both the ants have pheromone, right? If you can see figure 1, figure 2. Now see the path that you have, figure 2. Both the ants paths have that orange color or what yellow, some color we have shown. So both, now which one is more ants if traveled in the particular path? That particular path has more amount of pheromone left out by the ants, right? So there is more fragments. So when there is more fragments, so that path they are going to choose, because that is chosen by multiple ants. So many ants are choosing the same path. So ants started using one by one the same path, and after some time, what happens? Exclusively one path is being used. Isn't it nice? This is a very efficient solution that a group of ants have made. A group of ants have made without any tape, without any measurement, without any mobile phone. They identified the shortest path. If you can observe after some time. So can't you extend the similar computation for optimization? Because basically simultaneous is meant for optimization. Why don't you borrow this optimization strategy in cloud computing while optimizing the resources, while optimizing the computation, while optimizing the data processing, while optimizing the data usage, and while optimizing security protocols, while defining the security protocols, all those things. So this is a simple example how how an optimization algorithm can be used for cloud computing system. Okay, and then you have any doubts? Please tell me. I'm sure you should have some doubts. If you have no doubts, means you're not understanding anything. Please tell me if you have some doubts. There are 61 participants. Any one doubt? We have seen many cloud computing problem. Then we are trying to solve using many some simultaneous problem. This is just an example I've given. Similar to a lot of other evolutionary computation models are there, genetic algorithm, fuzzy, neural network, many others are there. You can always use them. Because since we have only limited time, I'm just explaining how to use a particular machine learning model for the cloud computing problem. But trust me, any optimization problem, you can use the Bayesian spread computation model and our genetic algorithms, because they all stand for optimization. Any optimization problem, because I already defined in the beginning, the first 4 slides, all are optimization problems in cloud. Resources optimization, computing power optimization. There is some question, just let me. Will you able to implement these algorithms using Lead Cloud? Yes, certainly you are able to. But the question is what? The question is how to implement these algorithms in cloud. Yes, very good question. Problem is how do you define your cloud computing environment as a machine learning model, as a optimization problem. Which is your particle? Which is your what you can say solution? And what is your objective? And which you want to optimize? When you define them, it's very simple to use. And hardly what people do, they try to propose a fitness function using the cloud computing, using the simultaneous problem, and using them, they try to publish a lot of papers. Okay, so the moment you propose a new fitness function and how to optimize the resources in cloud, how to optimize the computation power in cloud, and all these things, you can directly publish a paper. Okay, so the question is answered. Any other question? If you don't have mic, you can post in the chat box. Any other doubts? No doubts? We have only 5-10 minutes time. I'm closing at 1. Just if you have doubts, you tell me. Your voice
Sir,
is not
good afternoon,
audible.
sir.
Somebody is trying to. Please tell me.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. Please ask.
Sir, by using these algorithms, will you able to implement on the real fraud, sir?
Yes, why not? They're
Then
all optimized algorithms, right?
then how, or otherwise we have to go for the simulation tools, sir? Like in the
Obviously,
cloud
no,
environment.
obviously you need simulation tools. You need simulation tools. But question is, how do you define these particular cloud problem as a SWAM intelligence problem? That is the challenging problem. So once you define your cloud problem as a challenging problem, now it is like you are trying to solve this problem in a machine learning environment. You solve it using your some network simulators or any other simulators. Then you integrate with your cloud environment.
Okay.
But you can always implement them.
Okay, but you have to, like, we have to create an environment using machine learning, sir, like cloud environment.
Yes. Because first you have to see how it works in a real-time cloud environment. So therefore you have to create a virtual. Maybe you can create a virtual cloud environment and see how this particle management and how this particle defining happens. Then you can implement them. There are plenty of papers out there. You try to read, but try to read first some papers using deep learning, how they are implemented in a virtual machine environment and cloud computing problems. Then after that you see, because there are many papers using deep learning. Why I have chosen SWAM intelligence is cloud computing, SWAM intelligence, very less papers are there. Now
Yes, sir.
significant work has been done for cloud computing problems using SWAM intelligence.
Okay. Sir, we are having several SWAM intelligence algorithms are there, like
Yes.
PSO and chicken swarm optimization. So what algorithm we have to use, sir? Like any specific purpose or?
Yes. Now see, just now I've just for namesake I've quoted one algorithm, Ant-Colony optimization algorithm. Now, where I can use this algorithm? Now see, wherever you require routing in your cloud computing, cloud system. Why only routing I can use? Because if you can observe the previous problem, Ant-Colony optimization, there is a vertex, there is an edge, there is a path. So this particular optimization algorithm is more adaptable to set cover problem or optimization problem where a routing like structure where you have graphs and vertices are involved. I mean, vertices and edges are involved. So you have to suitably adapt an algorithm. Not every optimization algorithm is adaptable to every computation problem in your cloud system. Only few selective algorithms are there. If you observe the Ant-Colony algorithm, by its nature, if you can observe, they're more adaptable to this routing problem because it's look like there is a vertex, there is another vertex, there is a path, something like that. So for such a routing problem in your cloud computing, you can use Ant-Colony. For some other optimization problem like load balancing problem, you can use, there is something called Grey Wolf optimization algorithm for load balancing, and similarly Honeybee optimization algorithm for load balancing, like that. Similarly, Firefly algorithm for load balancing. So for energy harvesting, there are different type of algorithms. So subject. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, for scheduling, sir, task scheduling, for what we have to go for that optimization.
Now, scheduling problem, if you can observe, which if you can go for what is called Dolphin algorithm, Dolphin swarm optimization algorithm, scheduling problem.
Okay.
Because usually a group of dolphins, when they are there, how do they bound to a particular geographical region in the ocean, and how do they hunt based on some particular scheduling environment they do. So maybe it is adaptable because you have to simulate on multiple algorithms, and one will be definitely working. But for scheduling, you can see Dolphin swarm because we have successfully worked this Dolphin swarm algorithm for localization problem. We have worked on, we have published a paper on localization using. So eventually, it will work for your scheduling problem also. Dolphin swarm BSA algorithm.
Okay. But actually, whenever you're coming to the SWAM intelligence algorithms, but all algorithms are based on local best value and global best value only, sir. But how we have to identify the differences between these algorithms?
For that, now you have to learn how to define fitness functions. Now, what I suggest, you read 2-3 papers, good papers, standard papers, last 2-3 years papers, and see how you design new fitness functions. Because the entire contribution is only adopt Step 1, first you have to select the suitable binds for algorithm. Step 2 is how to design a new fitness function. Unless you design new fitness function, it is just a framework where you are borrowing an existing optimization algorithm, and that can be published in a conference. But unless you design a new fitness function or some improved fitness function, you will not be able to design, publish a good paper, a journal paper.
Okay. Sir, will you suggest any tools we have used for the scheduling, sir? Scheduling and load balancing.
Tools, scheduling and all, I have to refer something. If you want, I'll maybe you can mail me later on. I'll try to share some links with you.
Sir, I'm having one more doubt. Like we can use Python programming for cloud computing, sir?
No, why not? When you can create a virtual machine and try to implement this particular all these machine learning models using Python, and you can see how the cloud, how it can be mapped to the cloud computing environment using your some network-based simulator. You can do that.
Okay, actually, as of now, I have knowledge of using some simulators. It will support only Java language. Whether it will support Python, if you are having that type of simulators, then
No,
please.
Python, some of the researchers, what they have done, they have created some virtual machine environment where they have implemented in some local servers, and then they try to map it to the cloud servers. So something like that, you can connect it. But Python, you can use as a virtual machine environment, and how this can be executed. I think it should match.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, will you share your mail ID, sir?
Mail ID mine is dr.reddy@nitgoa.ac. I will just share it. I'm posting here.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. I posted my email ID, so if you have any doubts, you can mail me. Somebody asking about simulations tools and everything. There are some simulations tools are there. I can share the links with you also. So please mail me afterwards. I will share the links with you because now we are done with the time. Hani, I can share the links with you, so you can just go through them. Okay, thank you. And if you have any doubts, you can mail me. Any other doubts also. I'll over to Ayesha, madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Any more participants have any queries to be cleared? I think nobody has any queries as of now, sir. So, Damodar sir, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and coming as an expert speaker for us today and throwing light on all the different research aspects which can be thought of for a new person and already who are into the research work. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Have a good day, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a request to participants is, as I have announced yesterday and I'm announcing now, we will be having an assessment test at 2 o'clock. So I request all of you to please kindly join the group of 5 minutes before itself. Totally 120 to 125 students, participants on an average have been regular and put on the 80% of attendance. So I want that 120, 125 to be in the group in the afternoon so that I can post the examination link. After examination, we will be filling the AICTE portal feedback and a small 10 to 15 minutes of valedictory. So your presence is more than required in the afternoon session. You have 1 hour lunch break. See you at 2 o'clock. Thank you.